Hi, and welcome to the Twinsburg Mayor's Report for the month of July. Kathy Prokop is here, and we have lots to talk about it because, as you know, things happen in the city nonstop, including Twins Days, which we'll put a plug in for later in the show. But a lot of things coming up. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
Let's start with old business, beginning with Corbett Farms. Phase 2 is now starting to look like something. I haven't been over that way, so you tell me. Is it starting to...
Oh, it is.
Okay.
They're starting with the infrastructure, and we have several model homes up. I understand 5 lots. And that was a couple weeks ago, had already sold, so maybe even more since then. You will notice that along Glenwood Drive, they're putting in the sidewalk. It's kind of a multi-purpose use trail, so we're very excited. It's going to be beautiful.
Now, am I right? Is this going to be called
Corbett's Farm?
So that's the actual development,
that's
which
the name.
Is nice.
Yes.
Was anything saved at all over there? I remember Eaton Estates saved the silo or something, which is still in there. Unfortunately,
yeah.
We weren't able to do that.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, that everything was in pretty bad shape when the owners of the property demolished it. The pond still exists.
Right.
And other than that, it's going to be a brand new development in Corbett's honor.
Do they have to put retention basins and that sort of thing in there too?
The old pond is going to serve as the detention basin.
Okay.
They did a lot of work around it, and they had to obviously retrofit it a little bit for retention, and then the upper pond also will be in existence.
Looking back now, because let's be honest, there was a while there where the developers took the city to court because it was the whole density issue, that sort of thing, which was ironed out, and again, the compromise prevailed on both sides. Now that all that is behind you and things are starting, are you kind of excited for this new area to go?
I am excited. Going over the hill, you know, I always look down and into the city of Cleveland, far off in the distance. Always enjoyed that. The sunsets over there, and I'm really going to miss it. Obviously, the people who live there are going to enjoy that. It's a beautiful location. But the important thing, as you said, instead of building over 200 homes,
right,
they're only allowed to build 95 homes. And that was the basis of the lawsuit, and we're very happy that we prevailed.
You know, and timing-wise, being that you had to go through some litigation to get to this point, the housing market was crap for how long? And now that it's turned around, it's good to hear that you're already selling lots before this thing's really up and moving.
Houses are turning around pretty well in Twinsburg. I've talked to several of the real estate agents, and Joanne McFerrin in particular, and she said that houses are really selling well, and new developments are selling well, so we're very proud of it.
Good. Well, let me spin in then, because there's something down on my list here. We're talking about one of the positive things is residential, and this is old hat for you now, which I guess it probably doesn't get to be old hat. But I talked to Ann Warmer Benjamin, and they're in the top 10 as far as Cleveland Magazine goes, ranking-wise, and you guys come in at number 7. So, again, I'm tooting the Cable 9 horn that 2 of the communities that we cover are in the top 10 of Cleveland Magazine's suburbs of the year.
And we're very proud of that. We've been in the top 10 for many years, and we believe it's a great location, and many of the kind of, I hate to call them contests, but the magazine articles that have been coming out, as you know, number 2 in the state for small cities and number 32 in the country. So that ranking is important to us. It's a great way to promote our city. Very proud of it.
I didn't read it, but are they still coming back to the fact that even with the loss of Chrysler a few years ago, you've been able to make that rebound and didn't suffer during the time that there was nothing there?
I think that really plays into it, the great housing market and school system. But I have noticed that anytime we get interviewed, that's one thing that anybody wants to know, that it's what's happening at the Chrysler site. The fact that it's not sitting there vacant for 10 or 20 or 30 years is amazing. As you know, we have some new announcements coming up.
Nice transition here. And with the rail there, you know, it was only a matter of time before a company came in there and I'm assuming they're going to make use of that rail system because they're a communications company. But tell us about Fedex.
Well, Fedex is coming in, and it's going to be a facility that's about 307,000 square feet on 45 acres. They'll be located up towards the front of the site on Route 82. They will not be using rail. They're pretty much a trucking company, and internationally known.
Now, is that why they're up near the front, so you leave the back open for a company that could use that?
That's exactly what it is. And in fact, the state has demanded that because there was some grant money involved. So for 7 years, that back portion has to remain open, and hopefully to attract a company that will use rail. But FedEx will not. But we're thrilled to death that they're coming into the city of Twinsburg, $45 million project. And that's just for the building itself. Inside, I believe about another $40 million. So this is big for us. It's a great company. We're very, very excited about it.
And try to put it in perspective as far as size-wise. I think Vistar is 160,000 square feet,
Right.
if I read that right. And you said how big is this?
About 307, so it's almost double. That's true.
What are we talking about job-wise?
Well, the jobs, I have to admit, I was a little disappointed because I expected more jobs than we're actually going to have there. At the end of 3 years, we'll have approximately 51 full-time. I believe they'll open their doors with about 40 full-time employees, and then we'll have 51 at the end of 3 years. About 200 part-time employees and about 200 drivers. But the drivers are contract drivers. So they're registered in the state of Pennsylvania. We will not get any income tax revenue from the full-time drivers or the contract drivers. But still, over 200 people, part-time, full-time, it's a great company.
And Don always brings up this point, and I think people don't realize this. Yes, that's when it's done. Now, in the meantime, to build a building this size, you need to bring in all kinds of people, construction people, electric people, everything along those lines. And while that all takes place, the city reaps the benefits of having them. So a lot of people forget that even during the building process of this, the city's collecting.
Definitely. And the other important aspect is, even though we won't get a lot of income tax revenue, the schools are really going to benefit in property taxes. This is a wonderful facility, and when you're spending $45 million just to build it, you know that the property taxes will be up there, and it'll be a nice.
Tell me the secret behind this. Is this something, now did Larry Finch actively go out there and invite them to come look at this site? Are they looking through some professional periodical that says, oh, there's land available in Twinsburg, let's go look at it? How does the whole process
Well,
move?
we really are the support group for the real estate, the commercial real estate agency. Terry Coyne is the real estate agent. And the property owners, Scannell Properties, and Independence Excavating, they choose who their commercial real estate representative will be, and then we're there to help secure grants with them. We help with the permitting, with the site development, anything they need, we're the backup.
And an update is on, you're talking about the grants available, the cleanup grant and that sort of thing to get that done. Does this speed up the process at all, that now you have a tenant waiting to come in there? Or?
Oh, definitely. The whole site, I think you'll see a dramatic change as soon as they start building, hopefully in August. Roads will be going in. We have to have an overall sewer plan for the entire site now, so there will be great changes. They're going to have to do a lot of clearing pretty quickly of all the debris that's left on the site. And those are the things, when you have an anchor like that make things happen very quickly. As you know, they're also looking at a spec building on the site. The spec building would be general distribution, over 200,000 square feet. And even though they don't have tenants yet, they'll put that building in, and we're hoping within a short time after it's built that we will have tenants in that building also.
Remind us, too, I talked about Vistar's size, but acreage, what do we have, and what is Fedex going to take up of this total?
Fedex is about 45 acres. There's 167 acres total on the property. If I remember correctly, I think Vistar was about 30,000, maybe not quite that much. But anyway, 30 acres, I mean. Yeah. So there's a lot of land left for development.
Okay. Rumor mill, let's end this now. There was talk that Kalahari was going to go in there on that site because it was big enough to handle something like that. Is that a rumor? And should we put it in?
It must be a rumor because we have never had a phone call from anybody representing Kalahari. Neither have the owners or the developers. And as we just said, there's lots of industrial development going on in the site. So.
And pretty much when you get a couple companies like that in there, it's going to kind of maintain that flavor anyhow, correct?
Right. It's Cornerstone Business Park.
Right. Okay. I just want to get that cleared up because I had people asking me. I'm like, I don't know. All right, tell us about this, while we're on the subject, good news in businesses. General Diecaster is expanding their business. Is that correct?
Yes, they are.
And again, we're talking a lot of new jobs and money.
We're talking over 100 new jobs, and most of that expansion was parking lot. I think there's some changes within the building. But some of our great companies are really going great guns right now. The economy's turning,
As far as
and there's
expanding it, yeah.
expansions, and there's lots of interest in the city of Twinsburg in particular.
And this one, I don't think you mentioned $7 million is
Yes.
going to be generated from this. Has that been pretty much the way things are rolling lately, as far as a lot more established companies that are already in Twinsburg are expanding versus mostly new people coming in? And does it work out in your favor either way?
Well, economic development is 20% bringing in new business, 80% retention and expansion. And our companies have really been growing. AssuraMed is our largest company in the city of Twinsburg, and they have expanded into several buildings, not just the original one they were in. They're now, I believe, in 3 or 4 buildings. Companies like Safran and companies like General Die Casters. So this is what you really rely on, is keeping them in your city and having them expand.
And although there's sometimes always a question, are they going to stay, are they going to leave? If they let you know of these big expansion plans, it kind of tells you right then and there, we're staying.
Right. And we can offer some benefits if they're expanding their company, which includes an actual physical build onto the building. So we're working with them. We try to keep in contact with them and make sure we're there to help them.
And there's nothing on here, I don't know, this again off the top of my head. When the Cleveland Clinic was put in, didn't they buy extra land for possible expansion? And is there any talk through the grapevine as far as them doing?
They did. And I understand at some point there will be a phase 2. I don't know when that will happen. I was told that there's some plans that are floating around, but I haven't seen them yet.
Okay, but what I'm getting at is they made plans way back when to have the land available if they decide to add on themselves.
Definitely.
Okay. Let's move on let's go to some of the work that's being done in city government-wise with Twinsburg, beginning with charter amendments. You had the group come in and make their suggestions. Is that process done? And if so, have you seen some of the recommendations they have made?
All the recommendations have been made to City Council. They did a presentation. City Council will be voting on them for the final reading on July 8th, Tuesday, July 8th. So that's coming up. There hasn't been any controversial issues that I've heard of yet, so hopefully they will all pass and get to the ballot in November.
Number-wise, do you know how many there are?
9.
9. So if the council, if I'm right here as far as the chain of how this works, if the council approves what the Charter Commission has recommended, November is when the people will decide that people at Twinsburg go to the ballots?
At the general election in November.
And again, was it mostly language issues with this?
There was a lot of clarification.
Yeah, I remember something.
We never had any specific date for the beginning of a term.
Right.
So that will be clarified for both the mayor and for the council members. The ordinances of the city of Twinsburg and other places in the charter refer to the mayor as the safety director, but in the charter it was not written clearly that the mayor is the safety director, so that will be cleared up.
Is the mayor primary part of this?
The mayor primary, if it gets voted on next Tuesday in a positive fashion, that will be going back to the ballot to remove the primary. And 7A01, our zoning issue, that will be back on the ballot. And I'd love to have our law director come in and talk to you a little bit about that.
Yeah, we'll do that through each one. But as far as this primary, I remember you were dead against this the first time around. But it's the power of the people, and they voted it in. And then we went through this because I remember having you in with the other candidates at the time. And isn't your biggest complaint with this is you have to spend that much more time campaigning versus running the city and being mayor when you have to do a primary?
I have a lot of complaints with it. First of all, we're a nonpartisan city.
Yeah.
I don't see a need for it. The second thing is that if you have a lame duck mayor, somebody who doesn't make it through
let's say you don't get through the primary.
You don't get through the primary, and you have all the way from May to November to serve in that capacity as mayor, I believe that most people would put their time in, but I also believe that there are people out there that would just blow it off. Mm-hmm. And I don't think
sour grapes or whatever.
Sour grapes. I don't think that serves the community. So I don't like that time span. Some of the cities have a September primary and a November general election. That's only a month and a half. But to have that long of a time span, I just don't think is fair to anybody.
And again, going back, you have to campaign twice.
You campaign twice, and it does distract you from your job when you have to start campaigning in January instead of in July or August. So I just never liked it and still don't.
But that's what the people voted on.
Yes,
they got
absolutely.
to go through it once, so at least this time they'll have more of a, quote, informed decision
Right.
because they've seen this happen at least one election cycle.
Definitely.
Okay. Tell me about, I know you're out actively seeking, as you always are, grants, and this one to continue the cleanup effort over at, I don't know what's wrong with my voice, at the old school. Is
For
that
the
continuing?
asbestos. It is. We received some money for the fuel tank removal, and now we're moving on to the asbestos cleanup.
Isn't that expensive?
We don't know
asbestos?
yet.
Okay.
It just depends on how much and where it's located. We know that a lot of the pipes are wrapped in it. I'm not quite sure what else we have in there. So we'll have to have them come in, look at our environmental study that we had done, give us a price, and then we will be applying
And
for
is your
grants.
community, I can't remember the specific name, the grant or the group that was put together to look at downtown and figure out different things.
The CIC.
Are they still moving forward in the thought that eventually this is going to come down, and what are we going to do with this property?
I think they're looking at it in two ways. Either hopefully the property will transfer to a developer with the building sitting there, and then the developer will have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Or I am not quite sure that, at least in my opinion, that we should leave that building up much longer and go through another winter season. I don't like the idea of an abandoned building sitting
Gotta
there. Our
secure it,
insurance
too.
company
Right,
doesn't like the
right.
idea of an abandoned building sitting there. So if we can move this along, my recommendation would be to take care of the asbestos and take it down as quickly as possible. But either scenario can play out. Not quite sure which way it'll go yet.
Okay, but again, we're back to your seeking grants for.
We are, and there is some county money out there. They used some of this money for the demolition of the Edwin Shaw building and a few other projects in Summit County, so that's what we'll be looking at.
Okay. Time for our break. Here come the meetings for the hot month of July. Stay with us. We're back with Kathy Prokop, the mayor of Twinsburg. Let me get into what may be controversial to some people, but you've jumped on board with the county now as far as being one of the spokespeople or proponents of supporting the county sales tax that they're hoping to increase come November also. Why have you thrown your hat in there, and what will your role be on promoting this? Or is it strictly as a Summit County city plugging this?
Well, a couple of
Because
reasons.
Don was for this
Oh,
also.
I definitely am. Safety first. That is what our communities provide for our residents. That's what our counties, our states, that's what we're in the business of, is safety. And back in 2004, I was the president of the Summit County Mayors Association, and at that time we tried to increase the sales tax by 0.25%, same thing. That money was going to be used for the jail, it was going to be used for the safety forces, and for economic development. This program has changed a little bit. We're talking about the jail, safety forces, the upgrade to the 9/11 system, and an arena. First of all, I know that we needed those changes and upgrades in our jail back in 2004, and since then it has gotten progressively worse. In fact, because of the downturn in the economy, many of the people who worked in the jail, they were attritioned, so there are even less employees working there now. They are not safe conditions for those officers, for those deputies who serve in that
and
jail.
it's good. I want to get back to, I know your name's on this, but people that see this day to day are also throwing their, I know Drew Alexander, who was the
Yes.
sheriff for years and years, retired, has come out of retirement to be one of the members of this group, because I remember him being on Joe Miglerini's show here complaining about where we were being bogged down at this jail, and we're getting mental health people here that should have to be going to mental health facilities, not jail. And so I can see why he threw his hat in there, because again, you're talking 10 years that you've known about it.
Absolutely. And the 9/11 system, we have to upgrade it. if we don't keep ahead of these things, in fact, we are already behind, and we can't get further behind. There's only so much money to go around, and everybody has their priorities. We still have to do infrastructure. We have to do roads. We have to do services. But we cannot forget the safety of our residents. So I am definitely in favor of this sales tax increase. And I know that people are saying, well, they don't like the idea of the arena. The arena will be a great amenity, and it's a great partnership with the University of Akron.
Okay, but right away I'm reading people are saying, well, then the University of Akron should pay for it. I shouldn't have to pay for that. How are you going to answer? Because I think this is going to be your biggest hurdle or stumbling block. Is everything else you're talking about is wonderful. This arena thing has people rub the wrong way. But again, I think it's going to be get the word out and educate people as to what this can be used for.
Right. It's one of those amenities that bring people into downtown Cleveland. We need the same thing for downtown Akron.
Well, and we've done games at the Jar, which is what I think they currently use.
Right.
And I can tell you, it's outdated.
It
Even
is.
We had to snake up and around and everything else to do a game there, and I just know it's not, I mean, I don't know how old that place is. It's named after roads. It's got to be pretty old.
The new arena will be a partnership that the county and the city of Akron can also use. It's not going to be exclusively for the university. So anybody doing it on their own doesn't make sense. Why not join together, do it jointly, split the cost, and it won't even be a split of the cost. And let's get it done, bring people down into Akron, keep our safety forces safe.
And let's bring two important pieces of the puzzle here. What is it a year? $50, I think it works out for
That's
somebody.
about what they're averaging.
So
yes.
if you want to upgrade all the safety stuff, to me, $50 is worth it.
Absolutely.
And second, even with this addition, you're still coming in lower than Cuyahoga County as far as sales tax
Yes.
go. You're
It's still one of the
below,
lowest.
Right. So it isn't going to tax everyone to death either.
Right. And I was going to bring that up, and I'm glad that we're still one of the lowest in the state. But the reason to vote for it is for the safety of our deputies, our residents, and everybody uses it. Everybody says, well, let Akron do it, let the county do it. We all use those services. It's not just Akron. It's all of us.
But they're the ones that get burdened with it if there isn't.
They do.
Right. Okay. So we'll continue to follow that because that is something you'll be part of also. Let me talk about now, there's something within Twinsburg City Council themselves, and this was kind of state mandated. Up till recently, any purchases over a certain amount of money have to be put before your council for an affirmative vote before it can be, you can go out and do it. And that's been changed. You want to take it from what it was to what it is now?
Well, the state level for purchases was $25,000. Upped it to $50,000. So now we're looking at purchases under $50,000 with notification to City Council. So they would be aware of who we contacted, where we got our quotes from. That information would be given to them if the purchase falls between $25,000 and $50,000. These are all purchases that have already been okayed through the budget process.
Right,
the capital
before.
The Capital Improvements Board looked at them, recommended it to the Council's Capital Improvement Committee. Then the Council approved these items. So the capital budget's in place. We go out and put together a bid list for the items. Council approves the bid list. So now these are the purchase of those items that are under $50,000. Of course, anything over $50,000 still has to go to bid.
Okay.
But
So
we're trying to streamline it a little
Yeah,
bit.
this has widened the financial pad there as far as what you don't have to have. But again, like you said, there's a checks and balances. They had all that time leading up to approving the budget that if there was an issue, they could turn it down or question it then. Correct?
Right, and at this point, it's not even questioning the purchase because it went through several different layers, and they know that we're going to purchase it. What they want to be apprised of is that we made sure that we got several quotes, that we took the lowest and best, and those are the things that we will document for the council, send it out to them. And again, under $25,000, that will be internal, and we will follow that process, but won't have to put council in the loop.
Okay.
It would be very burdensome to do this for every item that we purchase.
And there's enough. People don't realize how many things are purchased.
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay. And I only brought it up because it wasn't an 8-0 vote, so I just wondered
Right.
what the thinking was there. Okay. Chamberlain Road sanitary sewer line. What is an update on that?
That will be starting next spring. We're still in the process of doing some of the utility work. We're doing some surveying. We have to go through the assessment process now. So as soon as that is all finished, we will be ready to go. Well, by that time, it'll be winter. So,
But whenever I see the expression sanitary sewer line, I picture a mess for some reason. It's going to be, and Chamberlain Road, let's face it, is a very busy road. Will you have continued, will there be traffic still go forward?
We will. This will be within the right-of-way. We will keep traffic maintained throughout the project, so you will be able to use Chamberlain Road. Most of the mess is going to be within the yards and within the right-of-way. But you're right, mud, dirt.
But, and every year we seem to have a big one like this. Are we getting anywhere close to being done with all the major sanitary issues with the city?
You know, the infrastructure is old, and we just keep working through the city. We're doing Westwood Drive right now. We did Bell Meadow, Serene a couple years ago. Now we're doing Westwood. We're trying to work our way through the entire city.
Is there, I guess what I'm getting at, is there that much old areas still that need to be done, or are we finally getting to the point where, well, we did this one 3 years ago, so that's good, and they're all tying together?
We're working on the list, and yes, we're at the. I think we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
It's going to tip finally toward newer versus old.
Absolutely.
Okay. Something else newer will be your website eventually. So let's talk about some
very
of the upgrades.
Excited.
Yeah, tell me about that.
The website's going to be very cool. It'll be up and running by the end of July. A whole new design, much more interactive. In fact, if you want to make it to what you want to see up there, you'll be able to log in. If you want to see all Parks and Rec items, you can make that your front page. Or if you want to see just general news, that can be your front page. One of the most exciting parts is we will have a portal site. So if you go to, we're not sure exactly what the domain name is. I believe it's going to be twinsburgcommunity.com. If you go to that site, you will have portals, which are links to all of the city organizations. So right there, there'll be a circle for the city of Twinsburg, for the schools, for the library, the Chamber of Commerce, probably Cable 9. And you will be able to just click on that and go to their site. It's going to be a wonderful way to find out what's going on in town, access everything very quickly, all in one place. And then, of course, when you get to our new site, it's going to be pretty exciting.
Okay. A few last things. We are going to be taking the month off next month, so I need to get Twins Days plug in now because that'll be the beginning of August.
39th Annual Twins Day. And it's hard to believe, 76, I wasn't here for the first one, but I was here for the one in 77, and that festival has just grown.
Were you in a stroller that year?
Yeah,
You wish.
Yeah, I wish. But anyway, first full weekend in August, so August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd this year, and it's going to be a great time.
Is it like a groovy theme or something to do with 60s music or something this year?
My era.
Your era, yeah, I'm sorry. Tell us about the McDarian golf outing, too, because that's coming
That'll
up.
be Friday, July 18th, $100 a golfer. It goes to the McDarian Scholarship Fund. It's always a great time. Lunch and a steak dinner. I hope you can join us because it's a good cause, too.
Right. And as we're talking about golf, is this rain hurt you much as far as this season, as far as the golf?
Not as bad as last year. Last year was not that good. But this year, off and on, we have a lot of good golf days. It's always touch and go, though. It's weather dependent, no doubt about it.
Okay. And what else do you want to plug for the summer before the end?
Well, I have a thank you for Taste of Twinsburg.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get to them. I'm sorry.
Fox 8 news producer Jen Carlton, who came out and really spearheaded that event up. I believe she almost did it single-handedly. She had a great team of people to back her up. But her enthusiasm kept it going, kept the motivation going, got all the sponsorships, brought the VIPs down to the square. There were, we estimate, between 4,000 and 5,000 people.
Well, we shot some video. We had one of our people shoot some video, and I was amazed at the number of people that were there for that. It was a real good turnout, especially being the first, I hope, annual.
The first one, and good weather, so that helped out. But the amount of detail that went into that, sometimes, you know, after you have an event like that, you look back and go, oh, we shoulda.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you, this woman, Jen, has really been on spot with the entire event. So thank you to her and her team.
And thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take the month off. We will be back. Kathy and I will be back after next month, so stay with us.